I don't know. It feels like society is like, it pushes us towards that money game. Like, you got to make the money. You got to, like, that's happiness. Happiness is money. And you sharing that perspective that it's a balance within that life is also a serious priority. And that took away some guilt from me and attracted me to learn more of what you had to share, because that's the direction I wanted to go. I didn't want to have to give up my life to have to meet the financial goals I desired. I wanted to be able to do both.
Welcome to the More Business, More Life podcast. And today I have a dear friend of mine, Garik Goodell, and he's a client first, and we became really, really good friends. And what I want you to know about this episode that you're about to watch is that Garik has a web development company, G Squared Studios. And I remember he was there was a lot of stress because he didn't know quite what to do, what activities were going to be the most profitable. He was putting in the hours, but he did have a good life. He was going on trips. But I remember he's a big motorcycle rider, and he wanted to be able to go on trips regularly, and he wanted to be able to have trips with his family and be a great dad and husband. And so what interpolated after us working together, he was able to now, I just talked and I was like, okay, you got to be on the show. Now we couldn't exactly calculate it, but over 14 weeks of vacation a year. He takes a motorcycle trip every month or more, he said, and his business has increased its revenue. And then when he's taking that time off, the guilt has subsided. So you might be saying, how the heck does all this occur? That's what we're going to do a deep dive on. Where was he to where he went, so that you can take this into your life today. So let's jump in. Garik, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Steve. This is going to be fun.
It is going to be fun. I long overdue to have you on the show.
Yeah. We've known each other for quite a while.
Yes, we have. And I guess, let's do I like to start off with like a shout of success. So, tell us like what it feels like now. I mean, you just got back from Costa Rica with your family. Yeah. You're like walking distance to waterfalls and all this stuff. I mean, you're living, like a lot of people say, you're living the life. You're definitely doing the more life. So what does it feel like to I know you haven't arrived, because I know you have bigger dreams yet, and we'll get to that later. But like, what does it feel to be here right now, having this life?
It feels great. I mean, my wife and I, we have a 7-year-old, and being able to prioritize spending time with him and taking him on adventures and showing him the world, and having the ability to wake up every day and choose what I do in my business, and scheduling our freedom and our vacations and making that a priority. It's a great way to be.
It's so exciting to have you say that. I mean, it really brings me joy from like the moment I met you, and even how relaxed you look right now. Like, I can see it in your eyes how relaxed you are compared to when I met you, and like you said to me right before we rolled camera here, like, the not knowing what to do. So maybe let's, go what it was like before, and then we'll come back to all the success. But, how was that? Like, when you're in a business, you're doing your thing, and you're not quite sure what's the most important activity.
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't go to business school. I went to art school and studied film, and kind of happened into my business, which is a blessing. But I was waking up overwhelmed, not knowing what to do, trying to learn the business, trying to learn how to get more clients, how to keep the clients happy, and just not feeling confident, and feeling like an imposter as well through that process of just like, is this what I really should be doing? How did I end up here? Am I making the right choices? Is this going to grow? Yeah. That was a big component. I was really blessed. My wife is very successful in what she does, and I was able to struggle for a couple of years while figuring it out. But
how did you stumble on? Like, so you go to film school, and now you have a web development. And I know it's more than web development, because you help with online courses and marketing and help revenue streams for companies. But so how did that happen?
How did I end up in this?
Yeah. How did you? Because you said you kind of stumbled into it.
So I went to film school in San Francisco, and the only practical way to get to the city from where I was living was to start riding motorcycles, which is awesome. Yeah. And then I bought a BMW, and then ended up getting hired by that shop in Marin, and was working there. graduated college, was selling motorcycles, was making really good money, and was like, this is amazing. I'm just going to keep doing this. And then 2008 happened. The economy tanked. Shop closed down. And a guy that used to work with me at the shop had basically a digital agency at the time and brought me on. He's like, I know you know some of these skills. You can do sales. And so when I joined, I was pretty much just doing sales and some graphic design. And then he got hired by one of our clients full time and moved to Scotland, which was
that kind of messes things up a little bit. Yeah.
And it was a blessing. He was like, here's the client base, like run with it.
Oh, so he just gave you the company,
he just gave me the business.
Okay.
But I didn't know how to build websites at the time. I didn't know code. I didn't know what I was doing. So I was spending my days trying to get the work done and then spending my evenings on lynda.com. I don't know if you remember lynda.com.
I do kind of remember.
Yeah. So it was a platform you could learn things. So I was like 6-8 hours of work and then 4-6 hours of learning in the evenings for about 2 years.
Wow.
Which was not good for me because I like to be social, and I was getting really weird being in the house all the time and trying to figure it out. That's how I started the business.
It dumped on you.
Yeah. It wasn't like I seeked out. It wasn't like, I'm going to go be a web developer.
Yeah.
It just happened in my world.
Yeah. And then because you're artistic eye, coming from film, you do have an eye for aesthetics and framing and all that. So I could see and I too did that because my background. That's why we connected so much, because I went to film school.
Yeah.
And then I ended up building a marketing firm. So I basically started shooting commercials. And then guess what? Those clients are like, you know what? We don't like our web guys. Can you do that too? And and so then you're like, okay. And then you start adding that on. But I hired a web developer to do that part, but it's, I understand. I understand how they kind of seem to overlap, and it's like being an artist,
Well, when I talk about it with people, I say, like, I went to school, really, like, when I started film school, what I was most excited about was helping people I knew in businesses, and I wanted to do commercials.
Okay.
That's what I wanted to do. And now I'm doing commercials, not really, but like websites. I'm telling the business's story, but through their website instead of via commercials.
Yeah.
So I'm still doing a really comparable thing, just a different medium.
Yeah, the heart is there, but really, when you went to school too, like, I mean, yes, the web was out, but now it really truly is your network. It's like turning on the TV. You open your web browser, and this is the way the content is delivered on mobile devices or on there. So really, it's just a different delivery. It's actually distribution in the modern age.
Yeah,
right?
It's how we watch all our TV these days. And
I know as we record this, the Olympics are going on, and I know that all my family are watching it through digital devices. You know, we don't even have cable or TV kind of thing. So then it's the only time we pay for something, because my kids like to watch the Olympics, and then we pay for a subscription to watch that. Nice. And then that's that. Yeah. But I mean, I get it. I'm just bringing that up as the example. So, so let's back up. So all this is happening. And so now I can even see that imposter syndrome, because here you are coming from film school. Am I doing the right thing? Here's a company, which, what a blessing. But, I don't know how to do it. So then you're like doubling down. You're working to make money. You're working to learn. And so then how did that affect you during that whole time?
It was just extremely overwhelming, trying to learn and keep people happy. I wasn't happy.
Yeah. And the overwhelm, then when you think about that and refeel, and I promise we'll get out of that soon, but just so everyone, because you're not the only one, right? People listening, like, what was that experience like in your life, on a day-to-day during that period of time?
Just generally uncomfortable, not feeling confident in what I was doing, feeling like an imposter, not feeling like a good partner to my wife because I'm not able to contribute as much as I wanted. Just really, it was a struggle.
And how long do you think that lasted like that?
Well, I mean, it was at least 2 years of me playing that game of trying to learn while keeping the business going.
Yeah. That's a good while.
Yeah.
And it takes some commitment to like go that long without getting burnt out and saying, what the heck am I
Oh,
doing?
I was burnt out.
Okay. So you weren't burnt out, but you're just like, the string was getting thin.
Yeah. I mean, there was still, I mean, it wasn't obviously all absolutely terrible. There was still the beauty of me choosing what I got to do every day, of me having control over my life. And I think that was the thread that kept me going at that time, was the freedom and ability to
Schedule your own hours.
live my life the way I want to live my life.
Yeah.
Even if it was miserable at the time.
It was your choice, darn it. It was your choice.
I could be miserable if I want to be.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, yeah, but I mean, that is actually interesting enough. It's so good because, I mean, this is really good that you're saying this, Garik, because as funny or crazy as it sounds, More Business, More Life is about choosing your life. It's one of the first activities, because in the junk's position, we think, oh, to have more business, we have to sacrifice our life, or to have more life, we have to sacrifice our business. It's an either or. And in the More Business, More Life philosophy, as you already know, it's the and. It's having more abundance and having our life. And it all comes back to choice. And I can't tell you how many people have come to our workshops or listened to our podcast, and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing what I want.
Yeah.
And the first thing is choice of the experience you want to have in your life. Then we design the business around that experience, and then you build your abundance around that. So it's kind of these things. And most of us, and even I did it in my earlier years, I don't think many of us are immune to it in this modern age. You go for the money thinking, oh, that'll just answer everything. And then you arrive at some goal, whether that's your full goal or some monetary goal, and then you're like, wait, I don't have what I want.
Right. I have the money, but I don't have the life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm getting at is coming back to you. Even though you're burning out, you're overwhelmed, you're not making the money that you wanted, you still were choosing your life.
Yes.
Yeah. So you already had that one thing, and I do remember.
Well,
that
I was
about
prioritizing that. I mean, that is something I generally prioritize, is having the life that I want and figuring out how to make the money work within that.
And that's not everyone thinks that way, Garik. So and I do remember that about you when we met, that you had that extra thing, because a lot of times clients that come to me, we have to start there.
It's like the other way.
So I already got
they
past.
Have the money, they're not living the life they want.
Yeah, not even always that. Even a lot of them don't have all the money that they want, but some do. You're right. Like, I have worked with millionaires that have all the money they want, and they're wondering what the heck is going on. I got my treadmill up to 10, and I don't know how to get off. It's going to break if I get off, so I have to run 100 miles an hour to keep this $1 million, but it doesn't mean anything because you can't use it. You're not, so it's like having a state-of-the-art kitchen and not cooking. It's like, why did you install that?
It looks cool.
Yeah, it looks really cool. We're gonna do a cooking show. I'm gonna rent it out, so I can make another $1 million.
Yeah, there you go.
But you already were choosing life first, so that lesson we were able to pretty much skip over and then get right into things. So I guess with that, what would you say was one of the first big like aha moments or lessons?
I remember you coming and speaking at the BNI event I was at, and just that concept of, I don't know, it feels like society is like, it pushes us towards that money game. Like, you got to make the money. You got to, like, that's happiness. Happiness is money. And you sharing that perspective that it's a balance within that life is also a serious priority. And that took away some guilt from me and attracted me to learn more of what you had to share, because that's the direction I wanted to go. I didn't want to have to give up my life to have to meet the financial goals I desired. I wanted to be able to do both.
Right. So that was the first attractor. Like, okay, we can do both. And you already kind of knew this, but now here's like someone that said, hey, I have a method.
I don't know that I knew it. I felt like it was the choice was either like live your life and scrape by, or make a lot of money and sacrifice doing the things you love and want to do.
So
that's what it felt like to me.
So you were like on the sacrifice mode of like, because you were choosing life. So you were like, okay, I'm going to sacrifice not having as much money as I want because I'm not giving this up. Yeah. So that's where you still were on the either or, but you were on that side of choosing life, even if it means I have to suffer by not having the money.
I don't deserve to make a lot of money because I'm living my life.
Okay. Yeah. Cause it is like, you have to choose.
Right.
which is common.
Right.
And then some people are on that, oh, I'm gonna go make a gazillion dollars, and then
Well, yeah,
you were on the other side.
I remember thinking when I was in film school, my plan was to basically like sacrifice the first 5 years of when I started in the workforce to become amazing, like do nothing but work for that first 5 years to get myself established, and then I could have some freedom. Like that was just my thoughts in my late teens, early 20s was how it had to work.
Right, which goes back to what you said. In our modern times, this is something that society kind of puts us on as a shell. And a big part of More Business for My Life is you being you, like listening to our heart. And, you know, when I started first doing personal development, I thought that I was doing it to become better. But I actually realized that I was actually letting go of all the things that were put on me by parents, by community, by school. And I'm not saying those people didn't love me and care. They actually just didn't know that there was another way. Right. So they're putting their own thoughts and ideologies on us, and that was on me. And so it's like an onion. So as I did personal growth, it was like peeling back another layer, and then it's like you're coming out. You're like, oh, I don't have to wear all this armor. And that, I agree with you. That was something that was impressed upon me, and releasing it allowed me to like live my truth, so to speak.
Yeah. Changing your seeing someone else do that opens the door that it's possible. And then you can actually realize you can strive towards that as well.
So that's what you're saying. So when you saw me speak and I'm like, hey, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Then what happened?
I was like, that's fantastic. I want to do that too. And then I signed up for More Business, More Life. And I think it was something different at the time.
Yeah, I rebranded during that time. So I think I met you in 2016 and we
2016.
fully rebranded to more. And by the way, like side note, in marketing, I always tell people when I first came out of film school, I made these epic movies and they failed as ads. And then I realized I have to use the words that my clients use. So More Business, More Life is exactly like what I always teach. People said, well, I want more business and more life. And I was like, oh, we're going to rebrand. So it's literally from the client's mouth that made this trademark.
Perfect.
Yeah. Side lesson for everyone listening. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. You were in my rebrand moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then I came to that. I just remember it was like something opening up in me. I remember, what I remember most vividly, is that evening when I decided to step forward and go deeper into your courses, calling my wife and crying, expressing where I had been and the struggles I'd been going through, and that this felt like the next step for me to get to where I wanted to be, and having that realization of like really accepting the weight that had been on me, and that this felt like the way to get past that.
Thank you. I mean, it's interesting you use the word weight, because I often use the metaphor that we carry extra bricks in our backpack that sometimes, to your point, we're not even aware of. It's like old baggage.
Yeah. It's just like built into your system subconsciously. Yeah. And until you become aware of it, you can't get rid of it.
Yeah. And then you decide, hey, I don't need these bricks. Right. Like, what was this?
Why was this serving me? No. Yeah. Let's get rid of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's part of More Business, More Life. And then the Freedom Council mentorship, which I think you're talking about, like going into mentorship. Yeah. That, where then it's even more change and more mindset, and it's deeper. Like, More Business, More Life, for anyone that's listening, that is more the curriculum, the structure, and then Freedom Council mentorship is like allowing that to be applied in a faster pace and letting go of all the mindset, which is like what we're talking about here, the unknown bricks that are in our backpack from either family ideology or systemic patterning in our family, or even childhood traumas. It's like all these things that hold us back as entrepreneurs and even just humans. Yeah. Right. And so I can see that. So just adding these up already, like, okay, deciding to have more business and more life at the same time. Then deciding, what I'm also hearing, and maybe we should talk about, is you decided to kind of ask for help and
do something about it.
Yeah. And maybe let's talk about that, because that's not easy. I know it wasn't easy for me. You know my story. Like, I got dragged to a workshop. I wasn't even going to go. Yeah. And then I met my mentor. So what's it like, you know, you did that 2+ years of on your own. Then you come to my workshop, and then you're like talking to your wife. Basically, I think in that you were like, I think I want more help.
Yeah. I'm truthfully, there was the financial aspect was the hardest part for me at that time, and I needed her help. And so I felt like ridiculously guilty to be asking her for money, to be helping myself in my business. And yeah, it felt like a very low moment, but also at the same time, a high moment too, because it really felt like the right next step for me. The thing, it just felt right. Very uncomfortable, but right.
Yeah.
Very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, you know my saying, success doesn't feel normal.
Right.
And when we go towards that, it feels very uncomfortable, especially when and then you're doubling up the help. So you're like, hey, Steve, I want help. And, oh, hey, my wife, can I have some help too? Yeah, I could see. So what a surrender. So what did it feel like? So yes, it was hard. You had all, I mean, and then I guess what I want to do here, I'll tee you up.
Yeah, thanks.
Because I think this is important, and I know this is being very vulnerable, and I appreciate you coming on the show and being vulnerable. But how many other people are watching and listening to this? And my intention is that by us telling this story, we inspire others, and I know that's your intention too.
That's what I want to do with my business, is help people grow and live the life they desire as well.
And with that intention, brother, what was it like leading up to that phone call to call your wife, and then all the emotion around that, and then what was it like after? Was it immediate relief, or were you like didn't even feel better until you slept, or like, I mean, walk through that. I know it's like slow-mo in that, but that's where people get stuck, because they start feeling this stuff and they like quit. They're like, okay, forget it. It feels horrible.
The lead up to the phone call was really challenging. I knew it was the only way I could move forward was to then ask my wife for help. Just the guilt. I mean, that's the main emotion that's coming in my system right now. Remembering, it's just tons and tons of guilt. Guilt that I'm not already doing what I should be doing in my business to be where I want to be. Guilt that I don't have the financial ability on my own to take that step forward. Guilt, feeling like I'm burdening my wife and slowing us down from achieving what we want because I'm not supporting the family to the level that I desire.
Yeah. I understand.
Just lots of guilt around that. And after asking and deciding to move forward, I think it was when I woke up the next day is when I felt better about it. Like, it was just a lot of processing for the rest of the evening. I think I was pretty tired. I don't think I stayed up too late. But
you're like, I used every bit of my energy.
Yeah, it pretty much wiped me out. Yeah. Like, it's a huge emotional moment in my world. Yeah.
Yeah. And what a moment, right? So then you wake up and you're like, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And what was that like, knowing that was the next step?
It was exciting. It was invigorating. I was more excited about my business and my future than I had been in a really long time.
That's so exciting, right? And because that was years in the making to get to that point.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then, okay, so you stake that claim. Then what do you think the first challenge that you overcame that's, to start? So if we keep this timeline going.
In my business?
Yeah, like the major shift. I mean, it could be both, because we did talk about mindset. So what do you think the first major shift was?
The biggest first mental shift that I had going through your courses and so forth really was having the mentality that I don't need to work with everyone to be successful, that I don't need to take every piece of business that potentially comes my way and fight for it. I can choose who I work with, and through that process actually be happier and make more money. Like, that was the biggest thing. When you're struggling in business, and you're not making the money you want to make, you're like, oh, I need to make more money. So I need more clients. So I need to work with whoever comes through my door. Shifting that was really the biggest mental change.
And I don't want to brush over this, because this is gigantic, right? I mean, it is. I mean, still to this day, the reason I teach the WOW client method, and it's my biggest keynote worldwide. Like, I've literally done it around the world. I never would have thought that I actually gave that speech in Africa. I got to do that in Namibia. I've been,
awesome.
It's been New Zealand, Australia. I know, it's crazy to think after all these years, all around the United States, Canada, been all over the world with this. And it still is the most sought after thing because so I want to talk about this more because this is the thing. We get into business and we think in order to survive, I need to take every money that comes my way. So then if someone calls and they're breathing air, then we take that business if it comes in our way, right?
Yeah.
And I did this too.
It's like,
I did this too.
Something just popped in my head. It's like the mentality of more clients, more money.
Yeah.
Instead of more business, more life.
Yeah. And it becomes the opposite, right? It's the opposite, right? It's like more business, less life because
more
why?
Clients, less life. Yeah.
So like describe that. So you're taking on clients that it's hurting. Like, when you just take any client, they might not be the right client, and then it actually hurts. Like talk about that.
I mean, if you have a business, you've had the clients that are like the 20% that come in that take 80% of your time. And it takes a while for that to sink in, especially if you don't have a mentor or a coach or a guide or someone telling you that, you don't need to work with those people. You think that that's just, it's just part of business. I got this client that's paying me less than anybody else and taking more of my time and making the project more challenging.
Yeah. And that lowers our energy
Tremendously.
Yeah.
It also, lowers your desire to work and make more money.
You're like, I'm not showing up in that job.
This sucks.
Many people have said that. I've heard a lot of entrepreneurs, they're like, I built a company that I hate going to work. It's your own job, and you're like, I don't want to go talk to those people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've definitely been there where you see the back in the day caller ID, but now we don't even call it that. It's like shows up on our phone. But I remember in my business,
I'll let that go to voicemail.
Yeah, caller ID. You're like, ooh, not ready to talk to that person.
Yeah, I'll listen to the voicemail.
Yeah, and then we're not even giving as much service too. And that's why we're minimizing the service because we really don't want to talk to them. And then it's also dragging our energy down because even though you saw their name, it already had a hit in your heart, your gut.
Yeah,
you're like you're going down on that, and that's
you're entering it with a negative perception
right away.
Yeah, immediately.
Yeah. And that's the thing too, that a lot of people think more business from our life is all about time, which it is. We get more time, and we're going to talk about that soon because we're going to talk about all the adventures you've been on. But this is actually bigger. Energy is more important because if you have all the time in the world but you don't have energy, then what's that time? So you're on vacation, but you're thinking about that crazy client you're going to talk to next Monday.
Right. You're not actually on vacation.
Yeah.
You're physically there, but mentally at work.
Yeah. Yeah. So what was the energy? So with that contract, because we're going to come to, so how is that all this taking any client affecting your energy?
It was draining. I'm kind of caught in the present right now, just through this conversation, thinking about how I love all my clients right now.
Isn't it so cool?
Yeah, like everyone that I work with, everyone that I'm helping grow their business through their web development and beyond. It's all people that I'm stoked when they call. Like when you mentioned that phone call thing, it brought up that feeling that I used to get. And now I'm like, I haven't experienced that in a while. Now when I get an email or a call, it's like, oh, sweet. What do they want? Let's do something.
Yeah, it's like, hey, do you want to come play?
Yeah.
It's like being kids and we're enjoying and we're having friends with just like how we become friends. And this happens with all my clients. That's what drives me nuts when people say, I don't do business with friends or family. And away, my mind's like, what, do you hurt people?
Yeah.
Like, why? Like, I love that we work together and that we're friends. And actually, just for everyone to know, full disclosure, I'm actually Garik's client at this point, and he's been my client. Yeah. We're actually both clients of each other's businesses and friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Right?
It's the way it should be. I mean, if you're going to give money to someone to do some services, why would you not want it to be someone you care about?
That's 100%. Yeah. Okay.
It just makes sense.
Well, no, Garik, I love you, so let me give money to this person.
Right. Yeah. I really, really like being with you and doing stuff. I'm going to hire someone else.
Yeah, because I don't want to interrupt that, right? Like,
right. I don't want to risk it.
I guess
I feel like that's what most people like. They're like, oh, what if something goes bad? Then it's going to hurt our relationship.
And what's realizing to me right now, just having us say this, is that I think it's because everyone's so used to business being miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't want to make this miserable.
Wow.
But if we choose, then we don't have to have misery.
Let's just have fun, because business can't be fun. So we should avoid doing business together.
You know, that's one of my core values.
Right.
And I know you know that.
I just threw it in there.
I know you know that. And people have actually said, oh, well, we can have fun after we finish business. I'm like, no, we can't, because actually we shouldn't work together.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to enjoy everything that I do. I've made that part of my heart.
Yeah.
I'm going to enjoy everything I do. And if we're not enjoying it, then you should probably go work with someone else.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Have fun.
Yeah, I love when you're way over there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keep a distance.
Yeah. No. But if maybe they'll change and they'll come back and they'll want to play in the sandbox, you know. But we should have fun. So, okay, so let's go back, because this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
Your business is on the line.
We're having too much fun.
Money is... Wait, no, but no, this is fun. We can have fun in this, but I want to say that in this moment, the reason most people don't do it, and I want to come back to it, they don't only allow wild clients in because there's a perception that I'm going to have less money.
Right.
Right. And so it's
100%.
Did that come through for you? Were you like, wait, I'm going to like say no to people? Like what happened when you first embodied this?
I would say it was more of the time element and the lack of enjoyment than the money thing that helped me flip that switch. Like really looking at who I'm working with that I'm not enjoying and how much extra time it's taking me, which then takes away from me doing the things I enjoy in life beyond my business. And it takes me away from being able to help more people because I'm being time sucked by this human, so I can't go help other humans. I think that that was the thing that, like, reevaluating that and looking at that, then I prioritized that aspect. I don't want to give these people my time.
Yeah, so it clicked pretty quick for you then, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it feels to me like a lot of the things you teach were things I wanted to believe but weren't allowed to.
It's like, oh, I kind of see that over there.
That'd be pretty sweet if that's the way it was, but the world isn't that way. It doesn't work like that. It's got to be harder.
Yeah. That's for cartoons and movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, if like that was something that just made sense to me pretty quickly. Like, oh, that sounds much better. Or even just like, that sounds much better. Let's try that.
What do we have to lose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Okay. So then what happened? You did it. You tried it. What happened?
Then I started enjoying my business more. I started getting better clients because then I could connect with them and then getting referrals from them. And business definitely grew at a much better pace. And I was happier, tremendously happier.
That's amazing. And then so having business grow, you're happy, you're spending time with the people that you want to. What did having that do for you?
It just allowed me to enjoy my life more, but also have that be truly my reality, that's the way it should be. And it's really cool now to start, like when someone reaches out, I typically do a 10-minute call with them. I think I got that from someplace.
10-minute call. That's something we teach, and I guess we could divert for a second and then come back to wild clients. But 10-minute calls is a way, like I found, being at first a solopreneur and then building into having employees and all that. And even with employees, I found myself, especially when I started with employees, like even more that we have to make a certain amount of money. So then I'm working pretty much a full-time job making sales and then a full-time job doing the work, right, with the ad agency. So then I was creating the ads, doing all their campaigns, and I couldn't leave that because I was the main creative director. So then I was like, okay, something has to give. It has to be the sales side. It was taking way too long. And so that's where the 10-minute call started to get invented. It's basically, without getting into the whole lesson here, which we're not going to do, it's like a filter so that we know.
That's how I use it.
Yeah.
That's 100% how I use it. The filter is,
Then in a short time, with the right questions in a 10-minute format, which most people go, how can you do that in 10 minutes? Well, we do. That's a whole nother thing we probably won't get into today's episode unless it comes through. But let's just talk about how it's a filter. Just know that it's a short call that allows you to filter, which comes back to the wow clients, because then okay, I'm only going to spend 10 minutes, and then if it's not a fit, we're not going to talk.
If it's not a fit, I'll find a referral. I'll find a suggestion. I will help them in the right way, but I won't allow them into my business if it's not the right fit. Yeah. And that's huge. It's so helpful to be like, it takes down, like once you create the mentality of, I only want to work with people I want to work with, you could then potentially put up a wall. Like, oh, careful, don't come in. I want to make sure you're the right person. But having the 10-minute call allows that perfect filter where you can quickly connect and figure out whether it's going to be a good person to work with or not.
And so then you implement that filter.
Yeah.
You start focusing on wow clients. And then what happened?
Life just got better. It just got better. I started making more money, working with people that I enjoyed working with more, having more time to do the things I wanted to do in life beyond work. Yeah, things just...
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And I do want to get to that end, like share some more shout outs of those successes. And we should talk about some of the trips you've been on. But before we jump that far ahead, so I got that. So far, like deciding more business, more life, that you're going to do both. It's going to be and more business and more life instead of how it was before where it was an or. You're choosing your clients so that you can enjoy the work. And when the phone number comes up, you're like, I love this person. I'm picking up the phone, and you're filled with joy with every client like you are now. And then being able to filter that quickly so that you don't spend a lot of time with the wrong people. Are there any other challenges that are significant enough to share here that you also started to change?
I mean, the other big thing that helped change my business is getting other people to help me in my business. Like getting you to help me was huge in my own mentalities and approaches, but then also getting subcontractors to help me with work as well. I mean, the internet is crazy. It's expansive. It's always growing and changing. And being an expert in everything is a ridiculous approach.
Yeah. Well, and Jim Blachek, shout out to another good friend and client. I always give him credit because he's the first one that said it in this exact way. But he said, you don't have a business if you don't have employees. And, basically, if you're alone, you just own your job. And it doesn't mean, like you said, a lot of your folks that are on your team. So that's why I like to use the word team. You don't have to have a W-2 employee. Like if it's something you don't do, then your core competencies you do, and then you hire contractors, vendors. There's so many other people that you can get help and add to your team without them being a quote unquote like full-time employee.
Right.
But basically what I'm hearing is the next big step after everything we went through is you built a team so you could do what you do best, delegate the rest.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so when you started doing that, what happened? Like talk about that. Like, because also there's a step in that. And I do remember talking to you. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I have to pay them. And then if you want good people, it costs more money. And I'm like, yep, you got to raise your prices.
Yeah.
Right. So you have the whole price thing so that you're priced accordingly. So just like with WOW clients, it feels like a bit of a risk because you're like, wait, I'm going to turn away clients. That's money. But yes, my life's going to be better. Oh, I'm going to raise my prices and I'm going to hire more people. Ooh, that's going to be a risk.
Not all the money's going to go into my pocket. I got to put it in other people's pockets.
Yes. So let's talk about that risk transition because it is a mindset to say, oh, I am going to charge enough so I can pay these people and pay me. How did that go? Like, was there resistance? Did you fully step into it?
It was a learning process.
Okay.
The first subcontractor I hired was a referral through a friend, and it was fine-ish. It was a good learning process. But there were some challenges and struggles on communication and other things. So like I've don't work with all the subcontractors that I've hired over the years, but I've found some really good ones and retain them and work with them very regularly. Yeah. It also helps me, again, because the knowledge base to build websites and all the intricacies is so vast. It gives me more confidence to know I have people on my team that are experts in things that I am not. So I can go into meetings and be like, oh yeah, we can get that done, and be confident in it, because it's not, I can get that done. It's we can get that done.
Yes. So and then and it's impossible, to your point, with all the intricacies to have. I mean, I wouldn't say impossible. Okay,
Sure.
maybe there's someone out there that can do it all. Good job for you.
Right. Do they have life though?
Yeah, probably not. Yeah, maybe they should sign up. But the reality is, it's not necessary.
Right.
And furthermore, like you said, if you do all those things, then are you working 5 jobs when you could have 5 people?
Right.
Right. And then you share in that. Many hands make light work. That's a serious thing.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you embraced it with learning, right? Because you don't always hire the right person straight away. But so through our work together, I remember working on that and like, okay, here's what's required, because how to recruit appropriately, how to train and retain is a thing. There's a bit of an artistry, and there's also, steps that make it possible. So if you slow-mo on that, were there any significant steps or just looking at the outcome of now having in this way, or a little bit of both? Like share what. So
I think the biggest challenge for me was learning how to properly communicate my expectations or my desires to my subcontractors, of like just getting better at that communication piece, not necessarily just like receiving an email from a client and forwarding it to them, be like, take care of this, like letting them know when I want it taken care of, and like putting in all the pieces. So when they receive it, I can feel confident that they're going to do what I hope them to do. And if they can't, then they know the expectations and can reply back if those are irrational expectations.
It's so huge.
Learning the communication was the biggest piece. Yeah, because they had the skill set.
Yeah, then it comes down to you. And so, I want to stick on this for another minute or two. This is a small business mindset thing as well, because you try delegating, right? And whether it's a vendor or an employee, and then you expect, and a lot of times by accident, not like deliberately, people do the sink or swim. They throw their new employee or their contractor in the pool and expect them to swim in your pool. And I know swimming, we think it's the same thing, but maybe the pool metaphor is a bad idea, but there are intricacies of where the steps are, where are the ladders, how do you get out of this pool, all the different things that go to your business, and we forget to communicate that clearly, and then we blame, and then we're like, oh, it doesn't work, no one can do it like I can, I better just go back to being by myself. And then I guess that's where it helped, because we were working together at that time, and I'm like, okay, time out. You have to say this, and you have to tell them this, right?
Yeah.
It's and then you can manage expectations. Even a personal thing.
That's the big thing, is managing the expectations.
Yeah. And I remember, do you remember this moment? I remember, I'll never forget. And I actually tell this story quite often. So you paid a lot of money to get a 1-to-1 with me. So you came out to to my mini retreat center, and then you basically were, came to have some solo time, which is one of the most expensive things that I offer. And I think you were maybe there 15 minutes.
Yeah, it wasn't there very long.
Yeah, and so Garik gets a phone call, and he says, you're on there, and you're like, oh, I have to take this, right? You look at the name, I remember, and you're like,
I don't even remember what it was specifically.
I don't either, but I know you're like, oh, sorry, I have to take this call, and I could just hear da 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 da. I'm just because I'm sitting there. I didn't have anything else to do because my time was yours, right?
Yeah.
So then I'm sitting there, and then you look sad and you hang up. You're like, this is unbelievable. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I have to go. And I'm like, what? And you're like, I have to get this project done for this client. And I'm like, right now. I was like, did they specifically want you to do it right now? And you're like, and I said, when does it need to be done? And you're like,
I don't know.
Yeah. You said, I don't know.
It feels like right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what it feels like. Right now is what it feels like.
And I had you, I don't know if do you remember this? Yeah. I said, you better call them back right now because they just hung up with you. So just call right now and say, when do you want this? That's all you're going to do. You're just going to ask, when would you like this done? And then what happened?
It was at the end of the month, but it was in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
It was a little over a week I had to get it accomplished.
Yeah. And then I said, is it going to take you a week to do this task? No. And I said, so do we have to do it right now?
No.
Yeah. And so then we did our session. But I do remember you saying, okay, well, we'll finish our session, but I think I already learned what I needed to learn. I do remember you saying that.
Well, it's exactly in the same vein of setting your subcontractors up with the proper expectations, asking your clients when they want something. Like, I get emails every day. Can this be done? Can this be done? Yeah, of course. When do you want it done by? End of day? Oh, okay. Maybe we can make that work. End of the week? Yeah, absolutely. No problem.
It's that is something that's so, because it's a customer service thing.
Yeah.
And we think that the faster I get it,
the better. The faster, the better.
Yeah, which can be true.
Yeah.
You know, we can surprise people, but then we also hurt ourselves so bad. So I train all the companies I work with, and even my own company, we do our best to have no same day requests. Because it's the same day requests that wreck everything. So if you plan the next day and you have everything dialed and you know what you're going to be doing, that's when you're the most proficient.
Right.
You know when your breaks are, you know, and then if you add something in, you're going to, like, most of the time take away your lunch, most of the time take away, and then that takes away from your energy, takes away from your well-being, and then you're not performing at the same level. So that's why I teach everyone no same-day requests. The earliest we can get something in is tomorrow, because I'm going to rearrange my schedule if it is that much of an emergency. And that's an emergency. An emergency is something that I'm going to do tomorrow, not something I'm going to do today. You know, but if we're all entrepreneurs and we're like changing our schedule every day, like you're a firefighter or emergency response person. You know, you wake up with a fire extinguisher. If you wake up with a fire extinguisher every day and you put a fire up before you get out of bed, like, there's another problem. Like, it's not the fire. Like, how is that fire there every single day? Right?
What are your kids up to?
Yeah. Lighting matches. Here, kids, here's some. I put the matches next to your bed again. Good night. No. Like, that's allowing our clients to abuse us. Without them, maybe no. They might.
Yeah. I don't think they have most probably don't have the intention of doing that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again setting the expectations.
Yes. So it starts with you and the interaction of the service. Then, and by doing that, and you know you have 2 weeks, that gives you more time to delegate. So then the next day you can write up a work order, send that to the person that's going to do the work, get the work back, inspect the work to make sure it's good, quality assurance. If it's not good, send it back. You know, now you want that time so that, especially in the web world, that you can then provide the final work to the client, and then you know that maybe there's a little dust to dust off, but you more or less got it done.
Yeah.
So knowing this, manage expectations of the clients, manage expectations with the people that you work with, how has that changed your environment and your life?
It just makes things easier. That's like really number one. Not being in your head about what you think people want and actually knowing what people want makes you deliver better. It helps you have less stress. It just literally makes everything easier.
So it sounds like we're building a business now, right? Like, I mean, and this is the thing. No one, you go to art school, or even you become a lawyer, a doctor, almost all those professions. I mean, any crafts position where you're a practitioner or a professional expert, rarely does anyone learn these business tactics.
Nobody learns. I mean,
and
not
even
nobody, but like it's not commonplace.
No, and even I've had MBAs come into More Business, More Life.
Yeah.
People with an MBA, like some masters in business, and then they're like, whoa, because it does take experience.
Yeah.
Like, you could read a textbook about business, and maybe you're going to be a little bit more advantaged than someone that never did, but for the most part, and for me, I did not do that. You know me, I went to art school like you.
Yeah.
And then, what struck me is I'm getting into film, and then I quickly realized this isn't show play, this is show business. Right. And so I had to learn the business, and it took me a long, long time. And that's why when people started asking me, like, how are you doing that, Steve? And how are you doing this? I didn't plan on being a teacher. It just came because I was doing things different, and I didn't even really, realize I was doing it that different. But everyone's like, I don't do it that way. I'm like, oh yeah, I did it that way too. That sucks. And then I'm like, yeah, I decided that sucks so much, I'm not going to do it that way anymore.
What's another way you can do this?
Yeah, somehow I did that, and through coaching too. Like I watched, I was very observant, and then I also started to ask for help. But so, it's stacking up though. Having more business and more life, picking your wow clients, starting to have the life that you want, managing the filter, so the 10-minute calls so that you can filter out the wrong people and filter in the right people. And then now you're managing an organization. You're managing a team so that you can then now have the life. This is like working out to be pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
like a system, like a factory that works, and you press the button and whatever widgets you're making just come out the other side.
Yeah. It's allowed me to start not just work with my clients, but like figure out other things I want to do within the business to then have some evergreen products and create some things like that for myself as well.
Yeah. So that you can have more residual income.
Exactly. So I can.
Yeah. So it gave you space to build, to invest, really, because that's like when you have residual, when you have like evergreen offerings, now it's like owning real estate or something. You can, you get the rent every month, even if you're working or not. So, it's like me, I have 2 books and I'm working on my 3rd, and then you sell a book, the book's already done. I don't have to go write another, someone ordered a book.
Let's go write
Let me write that, it's done. So that's what you're talking about. So now you have the business running, you're making more money, and you have time to invest in other ancillary revenue streams.
Yeah, in the process of creating those, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so beautiful. And sticking on that, are there any other techniques or lessons that we didn't mention that you think should be mentioned that other people might want to think about?
Well, just one other thing that I was actually, when I was driving here, was thinking about this. Just one other thing that you really drove home into my system is how else can I get there? I just think that's a really powerful thing that people don't take enough time to think about when they're stuck. And having a 7-year-old right now, it's something I'm really trying to share with him and teach him, because we all do it, but 7-year-olds definitely do it more. They are trying to accomplish something and it's not working, and they just keep doing the exact same thing over and over again, hoping for something to work, and it's not going to. Slow down, pause, breathe, take a step back. How else can you get there? How else can you get what you want?
Yeah. And it's highly quoted, but Einstein said the definition of insanity is doing the same thing, expecting different results. And that is so true, but many humans do this. I mean, I know I've done it. I think at one point in our life, we've all done it. And then it's like, how many times until you decide, wait, maybe I could do this differently.
Right. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to even realize there is another option.
Yeah. And, I think, and let's talk about this, like just general coaching, because I know for me, a lot of those repetitive breaking through a wall, and there's books written on this, like people like for 30 years, like pounded on a wall and they broke through, right? And then we think, okay, if I'm just miserable for 30 years, like Ted, I'm making up a name here, then I'm going to be just like them. And that's why a lot of people sacrifice and bleed, and they think it's the only way to get there, because people have done that. But then you could walk around the rock, you don't have to. I even say in business, the only breaking of rocks should be in the mining industry, but somehow so many of us are trying to break down walls instead of walk around. And so that's where and so I guess what I bring up this for coaching is
build a door. You could build a door.
Build the door. You
Just
could build a door.
Yeah.
That you might still have to break the rock though, I don't.
I was using the wall analogy for building
I guess, right? I was thinking of a big rock, but maybe you put a door in. Yeah, maybe. Or if you had a wall and it's just stucco, you can cut that easy.
Yeah.
Or
hire someone to build a wall, build a door for you.
You could do that. You could
sub it out.
The reason though that I think that I did that, because I know I did that, I kept trying to bang on the wall to try to come through instead of finding the door, is because we're not aware that we're doing it. It's almost like a subconscious thing. And I relate this most recently because while I was paralyzed, I was having this big sabbatical, and one thing I always wanted to do is learn how to read music. And so the best way I found, and I also am attracted to piano, so I started doing piano. And I did do some stuff on YouTube. You can find stuff on YouTube and you can do that. And I use this as a metaphor, but as a real life thing in my life. I did get a coach because I already was aware, like it's been so big in my life. Pretty much now, anything I do, I'm going to hire someone that knows how to do it. And here's why. In that interaction, there were some songs that were really hard for me. And the teacher I hired, she said, this finger, my right ring finger, is weaker than my other fingers. And she proved it to me. She's like, look at what's happening when you go to hit that note. And I was like, oh, it is that. And I had no consciousness of this, right? I just knew that song was hard for whatever reason, I couldn't get the note right on beat, and I was like messing up the song.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you need to strengthen this finger. Here are the exercises. Now presenting, you're going to do these exercises every day, and we're going to strengthen this finger. And I'm still doing it. It's still slightly weaker, but it keeps getting stronger. And YouTube's not going to reach out and say, hey, Steve, you suck at this song. It's that finger. Like, you know, it took someone watching me. And so I'm just bringing this into your comment about being aware that we're doing the same thing over and over, because I wouldn't have noticed that I'm doing the same thing and not getting a different result because my finger was weak and I needed to strengthen it. And it was an outside perspective, you know, so I think
that helps you see there's another way.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then you start realizing, whoa, that just happened. Now you start saying, okay, where else am I doing the same thing?
Yeah, that's really the main thing for me. Like, there's obvious things where you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't sweep the floor that way. I should do it this way. But there's so many things that we're blind to. And having that repetitive experience of like, oh, maybe there's a different way. And it just helps you open up to having that perception through all sorts of different things in your life.
So we totally, I know you and I are on the same page on this. So talk about that experience from, you know, not having a mentor to having a mentor, because that's what we're talking about. Someone else that can see you in ways you haven't seen yourself, and then be able to have change in your life, which is a big thing. And many of us don't ask for help. And I know I didn't for 12 long years. Those were my tough years in my life.
Yeah.
So what was that experience like before, during, and kind of after, or what, you know? I know you still always are learning, so it's not like it's 100%. Over.
That's one of the most beautiful things about this human experience.
Right.
I think I just felt really stuck before. It was doing pretty much the same or very similar things, hoping things would get better. And then when we started the coaching, that was opening up doors to how to do things different to truly achieve what I wanted. And then now it's just, it's compounded. It's just still applying all that knowledge and more knowledge, and growing and making things easier for myself so I can have a better life and make more money.
So even though it was a tough decision to spend money on yourself, to get coaching,
calling your wife and crying, it never feels great, asking her for money. Yeah.
And then in that though, you know, was it worth it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what would you say, you know, to someone that might be thinking, because, you know, this is, I mean, I don't want to underplay this. I mean, it is huge. I mean, this is the biggest thing in the work I do now, is people deciding to invest in themselves. We could buy houses, cars, all these things that actually are easier, even though those can be scary. You're signing for a 30-year mortgage. And I find that people do a better job signing that piece of paper than saying, oh, I'm going to pay money to have someone tell me how to live a better life.
Well,
talk about that.
People, just to speak to that, I think people have an easier time buying a physical asset.
Yes.
Right? Because they're like, oh, I could resell it. Yeah. But actually buying an asset to build yourself is more valuable and will typically work out better for you, for your happiness and wealth, whether that's money or just living a better life.
Yeah.
And happiness.
Yeah. So was there a reluctancy? I mean, it seems like you already knew. But did you have that in your mind? Like, am I really going to invest in myself? I mean, and then to see the results. So maybe like go like a little butterfly, like here, a caterpillar, Garik, and then you make this decision to make a cocoon and invest in yourself, spend money, right? And even pause a little bit. And then now being the butterfly that you are. Yeah.
Thanks.
The motorcycle butterfly. It's like super tough butterfly. But okay, but you know, I know it's cliche to do that, but it also is real, right? Because there's a before, a middle, and an end.
Yeah.
Can you like walk through those steps in this idea of investing in yourself? And I think it's important because there's a lot of people that are still really scared to do this. You know?
Yeah, I mean, for me at the time, it was mainly just the financial aspect. Like, I felt called to invest in myself. It felt like the right thing to do, but I was like, I don't know how I can do this financially right now. I literally couldn't do it on my own financially at the time. But then the amount that it's paid back is tremendous. It's tremendous.
It's so good.
Financially and towards life.
Yeah. And so how does your wife feel about her big investment now? Right?
She feels good. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
she's living life too. She gets to go to Costa Rica with
Yeah.
you and all over the world.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there was a beauty of me learning everything through the course. And she's also an entrepreneur, and we talk business. We get in the hot tub a couple nights a week, and we're quite often talking business and where we want to go in business and what we want to do. And me having the knowledge and experience I have learning from you and so forth, and being able to share that with her has helped her business out tremendously as well.
It's so beautiful. Well, before we jump into all the awesome stuff that you do now, because I want to, and it's not to brag, but it's like what's possible, right? And we want to share this. Are there any other significant lessons or techniques that we didn't speak of that you think are really important that people should know that have made an impact in your life or business?
No, I mean, really the one that I wanted to make sure we hit was the how else can I get there?
Yeah. How else can you get there?
Because that's it's so huge in life and everything. And being a parent, like it applies to almost everything you do. It does actually apply to everything you do if it's not going the way you want it to go.
Right. Yeah. If you're hitting 100%. On something, it's like going to a roadblock. You're in construction and they block the road and you got to get somewhere. And then do you like just wait at the roadblock until and they're like, you're sitting there, sir, ma'am, like you should take the detour. And you're like, I'll wait. It's going to be 3 weeks of construction. No problem. And
this is the way I know to go though.
Yeah.
This is the way this is the way I've always gone.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've even done it where they're like, you can't go this way. And I blast through the thing and bust my car up, hurt myself.
Jump my motorcycle over.
Yeah. Like ditch your car and walk the rest of the way. I'm only going on this road. Sir, they haven't had this road in 20 years. They made a new interstate. No one told me. I'm sticking to it. And I felt that way. Like I was staying on the old country road when they built a new interstate that's so much faster. And that's kind of what it feels like when you learn all these techniques we're talking about. It's like getting on the fast train.
Yeah, things get easier.
Yeah. It's so beautiful. Okay, so let's kind of do a quick recap and go to what's life like for you now, Garik, and your family. So, you're choosing more business and more life at the same time. You're choosing to only work with wow clients. You're using the 10-minute call to filter out the right and wrong people. You built a team, so you're not doing everything by yourself so that business can happen even when you're gone. And then I
can take vacation and not be freaked out the entire time.
Yeah. Money's being made. The business is moving forward. Clients are getting what they need while you're gone. And then you are also, if you get stuck, you're finding another way. And sometimes finding another way is hiring someone to guide you, like GPS, or like to buy, to get a guide that's an expert in the area that you're stuck in. And so now, I guess, so that's a good question before we jump into all the fun stuff that you're doing now, even though this is fun too, because but how much easier it is for you to ask for help now and even hire help now that you know all this experience.
Oh, it feels silly not to. Yeah. It's like feels counterproductive. Like, why slow myself down?
Yeah.
When I know getting help is the way to get this done faster. I don't need to go on lynda.com anymore and learn everything. If there's some unique new thing on the internet that I need to do for a client, I go find someone who's an expert in it who can help me take care of it.
And then just hire them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like how I run my business and what I do. I don't want to get caught up on searching for semicolons.
And the thing about that is but to your desire, right? So if you wanted to geek out and get on in a good way,
right,
and be the programmer,
right,
you could do that. But
100%.
What you're really good at is being the client communicator and like the liaison and getting creative and finding ways to help your clients.
Doing the design, managing the project, creating proper expectations, having a great time with my client, helping them figure out really the right direction they should be going with how they're marketing their business online. All that stuff is much more fun to me than writing code.
And that's why you do what you do best.
I can write code, and I do, but it's not what I focus on.
Yeah. And it's doing what you do best and delegating the rest. Yeah. And the next level, which has come more to me as I was paralyzed, is then you have to delegate everything. Even the things you love. We want to even duplicate ourselves. And my business survived through my 2-year sabbatical of recovering from being paralyzed because I had staff. Because I had a team. They kept the company going. otherwise I wouldn't even have. I mean, more business,
You'd
more
be
life
just
wouldn't have
getting
died.
rolling now. Yeah.
Yeah, I would have had to completely restart,
Yeah.
which would have been crazy.
Yeah.
So there's more blessings than you even think about, because I would have never thought that would happen to me in my life. And then even more blessings that my team stepped up and, did things. And even they told me after, like, they're like, Steve, like, things that you did, we thought we couldn't do, and then we had to do them. And then we realized we could actually do it, so it changed their life, me disappearing, not on purpose, but
Right.
yeah.
Force them to step forward.
Yeah. And so I get that. So then when you're gone, like, your team is running that. So talk about this. And I know you didn't really get all the math, but I want to make the argument from what you told me. I think you're doing like over 14 weeks off, because so the way we're going to count this, just for everyone to know,
let's get some clarity.
Yeah,
here.
clarity on the data, right? So, and this is real. This is real. More business, more life. For us, we want to advocate for more people to live their life now, because one of the principles of more business, more life is that we're not for retirement. That whole thing is a bust. Let's make a ton of money and then retire at some old age and then try to enjoy life. And it doesn't work. It does not work. It does not work. Like, in my opinion, I mean, you could choose it. It's a choice, right? And I'm not dictating your choice.
The only people that stay living long after retirement, they pick something else to do that they could be potentially making an income from.
And if you love what you're doing, why wouldn't you do it the rest of your life and play? So if you can balance the deep work and the deep play, then you're gonna change your life for the rest of your life, and you're gonna live longer. People live way into their 90s or even farther because of their activity. I was watching some of the Blue Zone, and there's a guy that's like 110 years old in Costa Rica or something, and he looks like he's 70, but he's still running his ranch and his farm.
I saw that episode. That was
yeah. And that's because he's active.
Yeah.
So coming back to that, it's not about that. It's about living the life in balance. So what we're tracking is less hours worked. So that's just like in a given week that we're going to work less than 40 hours a week, because it's pretty much proven. And there's a lot of data out there. Geniuses aren't necessarily born. Even if you are born with that level of genius, you're not going to keep it. They've actually studied geniuses over like a 30-year period, and they did not take care of themselves, and their whole career and their science or whatever they're working on goes down. But there are people that are not as much a genius, but they take care of themselves. And as their career goes, they lift to genius level. And in that particular study, they had people that were actually Nobel Prize winners and all kinds of stuff, big achievements. So the idea of less hours worked. Then the next thing that we're tracking is more revenue, right? Because we want to increase business, right? So, less hours worked is more life, more revenue is more business. Then we're also tracking number of vacation days. And this is where I get to the point where so what we define that by is that you're not home. Like, you're out sleeping somewhere else. You're like enjoying the world. And this is where Garik's like, am I really taking that many days off? But then you're telling me about this trip and that trip and taking a motorcycle trip every month and taking long weekends with your family and going on excursions and then going to Europe and going all around. And whether you're staying in Airbnbs or driving in an RV or, a bus. And you're just telling me story after story. And I start adding it up and I'm like, man, you're taking, and I want to turn it over to you. And the last one that we're tracking is the number of jobs. So almost all of our clients right now are hiring in a time right now when we're recording this where so many companies are laying off. Yeah. So this proves that we're doing the right thing. And so I want to say that all out loud, but this goes back to you, because you're like, no, I think you were.
I'm still like, I don't know, 14 seems a little much.
But it's real. So let's even see. Maybe we'll even add it up right now. Okay. But I mean, so just even this year, isn't this year, you've done European trips, but you went on a big European trip this year.
So if we just in a cycle year, right? Not actually like 2024, but from a year ago today to now, I took what was it? 8-day motorcycle trip with my dad.
Okay.
And then we did just under 2 weeks in Europe, where we rented a van, drove around Switzerland, and then stayed at a house in Italy for a week.
Yep. So we're at least 22 days now.
Okay.
That's over 3 weeks.
We always
wait. And so that was, but I don't want to brush over it. So that was in Europe.
Yeah.
See, yeah, you want
The best way to travel Europe is to rent a van. I just have to throw it out there. It gives you complete freedom to choose what you do every day. You get to wake up in a town and be like, this place is great, let's stay longer. Or this place is like, we checked the boxes, let's move on. You don't have to stay there because you have an Airbnb for 3 more days or a hotel room. So I just want to put that out.
Well,
to the
no,
world.
and I don't want to
Like,
brush
that
over
is an
this.
amazing way to see things. You also get off the beaten path. You drive through areas, you pull off in small podunk towns and get to know more locals, and you definitely can connect with nature a lot more too, because you're not stuck on a train just staring at it out a window. You can be like, that's a gorgeous lake, and pull over and go get in it.
Well, you even showed me a picture, and I'll have to get this picture. We put it up here. You found with your family like this, like hot spring in Italy.
Yeah.
And you're like with a waterfall.
Yeah.
And no one was there.
Yeah, we had a hot spring with a waterfall, with a huge swimming area, like 20 by 20 probably, that was completely ours all day. No one, like one other family like walked past, because there's this area where there's a bunch of different pools. Most people go up a little bit higher where it's a little bit more visually interesting. But we're like, let's just keep walking, see what we find. And we just found, and we spent our whole day there.
Wait, what's more
amazing.
Visually interesting than a waterfall?
There's like all the sediment and all the minerals like create all crazy colors as the water like comes down and has build up. And
okay, that's valid.
Yeah,
but what you showed me, that was pretty aesthetically
Yeah, it was
pleasing.
pretty amazing.
Yeah,
it was pretty amazing.
And then you were telling me about Switzerland too. Like, it was.
It was a beautiful trip. I mean, Switzerland is a gorgeous country. It's a beautiful place to see in a van, because then you can go explore and just like, let's go see what's up that mountain. Let's go see what's in that lake. Let's go to the next town. Like, it was a beautiful place, and we had some really amazing experiences.
What would you say the biggest highlight of that European trip was for you and your family?
The most fun moment was a surprise. We were in the van. We thought we were paying to go through a tunnel, because there's a lot of tolls on the highways over there. So we thought we were paying to go through a tunnel, like drive through a tunnel. And we're waiting to get to pay at the toll booth. And the lady asked us, like, where are you going? We're like, oh, we're going to Zermatt. And she's like, okay, cool. Yeah, there's only one stop. We're like, there's only one stop. That's a weird thing to say when you're going to go drive through a tunnel. And and we start going, and we fall in the car in front of us, and we're like, there's a lot of trains here. Why are there so many trains here? They probably do shipping through another tunnel or something like that. And the car in front of us starts to pull on to the train. So we follow them, and then we pull onto the train. So we're in our van on a train. And it was amazing because we're in the van. So we're like, oh, it's a 20-minute train ride in our van that we weren't expecting.
Oh my gosh.
Go pop out, go to the fridge, get the charcuterie board out, like just chill in the van. Richie got unbuckled, and we just hung out and just had I was freaking out. I have a video of me being like, I can't believe we're in Switzerland in a van on a train. Like,
that's
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Me neither.
Didn't even know that was a thing.
Thank you for opening that up. I mean, I've been on ferries before with a car, but never a train as a ferry. So it was because it was easier to get the train. The train was already
there.
They
just build one tunnel, and then they just maintain the train instead of having to have a
road that everyone drives through.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's again the beauty of taking a van in Europe. If you're like me too, and kind of like have a loose idea of where you're going, but be open to things, then you didn't know that you were going to have to get on a train because you didn't do that research. You just knew that was the right road to take.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that we brought that up. Okay, so before we go forward on counting, what was the best part of the trip with your dad? 'Cause, I mean, think about that. Like, well, I know for me, you said you went like over a week with your dad. I never got to have that experience with my father, like on a solo trip. And my father's still alive, but he has Alzheimer's now, so that's like not going to happen. But like, not everyone gets to have that experience. So I want to go back. What was the highlight of that trip, Garik?
Probably doing a pass. I think it's Grizzly Pass or Beartooth Pass. I think it's Beartooth Pass. I need to look it up. But us just going about 10,000 feet up over this pass, riding, having a great time, and then finding a spot to pull over and just hang out and connect. in the middle of the forest.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, the presence. And we're never too old to be with our elders, and feel their presence. What an experience. I'm so happy that and that's a big thing, because I know when we first met, that's something that you really wanted. And now you've been able to have more of that with your father.
Yeah. Yeah, we've done quite a few motorcycle trips. It's been a bit, but we're getting them back on the calendar again.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm so happy. So happy for you. Like, I mean, so many people, we get busy with life, and then we don't it's that old song. My dad was a workaholic, so my mom used to play this song, and I don't know why. I mean, she was so, well, I do know, and I love my mom and dad, and they might be, my dad, I don't know if he listens to the podcast, and if he does, if he would remember it, but my mom does listen sometimes, so I know she's probably hearing this, but she used to play that Cats in the Cradle song.
Yeah,
you know that?
the Silver Moon.
Yeah,
and then
and then the dad finally has time off, and he's like, "Hey, son, can you come play with me?" "No, Dad, the kids are sick, and I have work.
Yeah.
I'll see you next time," or something like that. I'm just getting tingles saying that. But Mom used to play that all the time. And I'm like, what, you were programming me? Because then I did do the same thing. And there was a period of my life where then maybe my dad did have more time, but I was a workaholic into my early 30s. And that would have been the time maybe I could have spent more time with my dad, but then I was lost. And then by the time I was available, then my dad was starting to lose his memory. Yeah. I mean, I'm not trying to make the show go into depression here, but but it's real. Like, tomorrow's not promised, and I'm just so happy for you. It brings me so much joy that you've been able to you have this experience with your father now, and you chose it. You've built a business so that you could have that kind of free time, that you could just say, "Hey, Dad, you want to go on a bike trip?"
Yeah, do you want to go meet in Idaho and then drive through a few states?
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for you, brother.
Yeah.
It brings me so much joy.
Yeah. There's a thing that's been popping up in some social media feeds I've been seeing a lot these days that just says you can always make more money, but you can't always make more memories.
Yeah. Yeah. It's we did a podcast a little while ago, and one of my clients said she was making money and working so much, and then she was wondering where she could buy time. Right. Where can I buy time? Do you know the website for that?
Yeah, does Amazon sell time?
Yeah, they actually do. They actually do. I looked it up, and then I was disheartened that it's only a spice. It's for food or something, you know?
Played. Well
they told you. Yeah, that's a dad joke. My daughters would be like, "Good one, Dad."
Jeez,
yeah. Okay, so let's get back to counting. Okay, so we're at least 22 days between what you just said. So, because I got your dad trips 8 days, and then 14 plus with Europe. Or
No,
was
it was 10 days. No, it was 7 days in the van, and then I think 8 days. We did a couple nights at an Airbnb, and then the rest in Tuscany. I think that was another 8 days.
So
like
8, and 7.
Yeah.
So that's so okay. So
I really do need to get the calendar if we're going to get serious about this, because I'm not going to remember it all.
But we don't have to have it perfect. But I just want to point out, you said 2 weeks, and now you just added up 16 plus 7. So
8 with the dad,
days,
and then Well, so Rich is in year-round.
You're helping me out, because now we added days.
Rich is in year-round school, and we chose that because we both want to vacation throughout the year.
And Richie's your son. So
Rich is my son, just FYI.
Yeah.
And he's got a 3-week fall break. Like that's our big vacation. We're like, 3 weeks, we're going to go do something. And so we weren't there the full 3 weeks, but we were pretty close.
Yeah. Okay. So we're at least 23 days now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I'm sure I did before the end of the year, at least 2 more like motorcycle overnight trips solo. We definitely did we always do Memorial Day weekend, or what was that? Labor Day. Sorry, we always do Labor Day weekend at my buddy's ranch in the van. We did a bunch of ski trips. So I'm not going to be able to get all the numbers straight.
I know for a fact that it's over 3 months.
Richie went from like barely skiing to like ripping blues, like no problem.
You are, one day, okay, we're not going to be able to do it on the show.
Went to Montana to visit the family a couple times in that,
Yeah. I mean, and if we count vacations as nights away from home, sleeping in another bed, either in your van or on the ground, on the dirt, which I know you do, like next to your motorcycle, which is awesome. I talk about that experience for a minute, just for all the people. So you ride your motorcycle into the craziest places alone, and then just like you're like the motor cowboy, right? You just like drive out.
There are guys that are much more skilled at riding than I am and do crazier stuff.
I know, but I don't know them.
Yeah,
I know you.
I know the people I know. I go adventuring more than anyone else I know.
Yeah.
Well, one of the reasons, so we got this van, we have an 86 van again that we've done a road trip in. Which
awesome. It turns like a tank. I never knew. Like, oh my gosh, we went places you can't even go. And we saw the Mercedes Sprinter brands down at the bottom of the hill. Yeah. And they're like laughing at us. They're like, good luck. And Garik drove his VW bus up to the top, and it turns like a tank. The way the wheels are, I was so impressed.
Well, you're sitting over the front wheels, which is a really interesting sensation. You like pull into a parking spot and people are like, oh, you're going to hit. And you're like, no, like where your feet are is like 6 inches from where the car ends.
Yeah, and it turned like a tank going up the mountain. And then we camped where like people can't even get.
Yeah, you can't camp there anymore, which is a bummer.
Well, that's another story. But we did, and then it looked out down all the valley and the ocean, the Pacific Ocean. It was like the Ritz-Carlton on a mountain for me. I mean, it was such an experience. It was super
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically we're on the edge of the over Highway 1 over the Pacific Ocean, and I think was it at night, the clouds, or it was in the morning where the clouds. In the morning we walked out and we looked and you couldn't see the ocean, but we were above the clouds and all you could see for miles was just clouds. Like an ocean.
Yeah, like think about that. You're on a cloud. Neat. Sorry, I talked over, but you're on a cloud. Yeah, it was like, it was impressive. So, if you want to go places you've never gone, you just got to get a Garik.
Yeah, just come with me.
Yeah.
I like people. I invite people on my motorcycle trips, just not every time someone can come.
Yeah.
But so we got the van, and I have this thing where I love to explore. And so I'm driving, and I'm constantly like, what's down that dirt road? What's down that dirt road? And it didn't feel like the most responsible approach to take an 86 van again with my family in it down a dirt road that I don't know what's down there. So I got the motorcycle that is more off-road capable, so I can go pre-scout and find places for us to go back and camp in the van.
Nice.
Because mostly when we camp, we're not in a campground. We're on BLM or National Forest.
Yeah.
Just
out in nowhere.
Yeah. Just down a dirt road, hopefully near a river or a lake.
Yeah. Which is beautiful, brother. And thanks for, and this is the bonuses of becoming friends with your clients.
Yeah.
I mean, like people, again, going back to like, oh, I don't do business with my friends, or I don't have friends that are with my business. What a mistake that would have been, because I would have never had that experience. And I mean, it was amazing, brother. And I'm honored that you invited me on that.
Yeah.
So,
that was a fun trip.
Yeah. It's beautiful. I think we made case in point. I mean, you're traveling the world. So let's just, put this into, the whole package. I mean, your business is running. You have a team taking care of it. You're only working with WOW clients. You're making more money than you ever did.
Every year I make more money than I did the previous year. Every year.
It's so beautiful.
Honestly, 2020 was a little bit of a drop with the pandemic.
Yeah.
But
thanks for keeping it honest.
Yeah, but then it shot back up to before 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congrats. And then now you're traveling all around the world, Europe, Costa Rica. I mean, like, I know it's endless, and I know your family has plans to do like all, more epic things in the store. And so, and your son's only 7 years old. He's going to have seen most of the world before he even graduates high school.
Yeah. He's been to Europe twice. We took him when he was 5 months old as well.
Yeah.
And that was our first real van trip, but
yeah. No, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, so I guess what is the experience like having all of this? What does having this whole, like, if we take all of it, what is it? What's having all that do?
It's super invigorating and satisfying. And I mean, what I'm most passionate for myself is to have choice, to be able to choose how I spend every day. And that's what I want to bring into my business and help my clients do as well. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to do that. And then also teach my son that and help my wife have that. And actually she helps me have that. And just getting to choose to live the life I want to live feels amazing.
It's so beautiful. Would you say that's the biggest result that out of everything, if you were to pick one thing, it's just that you get to choose your life and you have all these outcomes.
100%. Well, and like we talked about guilt a little bit before, like I was doing some of this stuff before. I was still like going on adventures and had been on some motorcycle trips with my dad and so on and so forth. But I just felt more guilty about it because it didn't feel like that's what I was shown or taught to do. I feel like, oh, you take time off, then you're not being productive and making money. Like to be able to make money while I'm taking time off and know that it's the right thing to do for me and my family and my experience and the world is awesome.
And then you can let go of all that guilt.
Yeah, exactly.
And how does that feel that it's gone and you can be in the moment?
It's ridiculous. It's amazing just to truly enjoy your vacation instead of being like, oh man, I hope that I don't get that email from like just be absolutely like forget. I mean, that's a cool. It's so important for me to have my team because I like to go places where I don't have service and not to be stressed when I don't have service. Just be completely 100% in the moment of whatever I'm doing and locking that into my experience.
Well, it's a necessity. You're going places that there's nothing. So then, you're disconnected and on purpose, maybe even now. I mean, there are these satellite things that they have now and some people can do it, but even that can get spotty in certain terrain and coverage. Yeah. But basically you don't have to even worry about that. You can completely disconnect, know that your business is taken care of and know that it'll be there and just fine when you get back.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Well, what would you say? And thanks for sharing your whole life here today with us. I mean, it really does help other people because we're showing people that there is choice and that is the biggest result that you get to choose. It may be a similar question, but I just want to ask it in this way. Like, over all of this, what would you say the greatest value you've received from our relationship?
So many things.
Yeah, if you had to pick one.
Oh, man.
Top of the list.
Letting go of the guilt that I had trying to live the life that I wanted, I would say is the biggest thing.
That feels the heaviest.
Yeah, that's definitely the heaviest.
That's like driving your van again with extra bricks in the back.
Well, it's just like going to have fun, but yet you're not actually having, like you're doing the physical thing that you should be having fun, but instead you're inside feeling guilty about doing the thing you want to be doing. Like it's terrible. What a terrible way to, like, you not actually ever present. On vacation or are present. Yeah. You're caught up in what you think you should be doing instead of what you actually are doing.
And that's the thing, I don't think there's a coincidence that present
right
is the word present and spelled exactly like a present, like a gift. Yeah. Because if we are in the past regretting something, we're not present, we're in that past. And if we're worried about the future, then we're not in the present, we're in the future. But when you're in the present moment, it is the gift of life. Hands down, because that moment that I've been, I'm a father too. And so when I'm with each of my children and I do one days with them, we call them one days. Yeah. And they get a one day with me, and then we go and have a whole day together. And then and it's so different than being with the whole family. I do all of that. I go with the whole family as a unit, but then I go on dates with my wife too. So they each get individual time with me, and I get individual time with them. And the experience is so different. It's amazing, and so that requires presence, because I could have a one day and then be like on my phone doing emails or doing one of those things. And by the time I was doing these one days, luckily that wasn't a thing for me. Like I'm like you, even if I'm not traveling on the side of a mountain like you, I turn my phone off and throw it in the closet. Off and in the closet for a whole weekend. Yeah. And then some people will be like, I text you over the weekend. I'm like, okay. But I tell people, I manage expectations. I'm like, look, if I'm on a family thing or anything, my phone's off.
Yeah, I know when I text you and don't get a response, I'm like, oh, Steve's hanging with his family. Cool.
Yep. And then I'll get it later. And I do respond most of the time. Unless I come back, like when I take time off for my birthday or certain things, then it's really hard. Because I'll come back to like hundreds of things. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah. But that's minor. Like it rarely happens. And I do really try to get back to everyone. And I always tell people, if it takes a long time and you still, then just ping me again.
Yeah.
Bring it to the top.
Do a follow-up.
I love you. It was not personal.
Yeah.
It was just me doing me. So yeah, being present is, and not not having the guilt so that you can be present. That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. Well, and I'm going to be transparent. I obviously still have some guilt because when you're saying this like 14-week thing, it like makes me uncomfortable. So there's still something around that, but it is tremendously improved.
So I'm messing you up that you have to go add this up.
You're like pushing it for me.
And you know what? I
You're
really
pushing
think
it for me.
I have a feeling you're going to have like something like 16 weeks or something crazy. I know. But dude, you add it up. Well, if it's gonna mess you up, then don't do it. Or if you add it up and then you get all freaked out, then call me and we'll work it out. But you deserve 4 months off. Yeah. I mean, basically, you're taking about 4 months off out of the year. So you're like,
it makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, good. We're pushing on it because part of this in the next few minutes when we wrap up, I was gonna say what's next. I guess because there are entrepreneurs that work half the year.
Yeah.
So you should be comfortable with that. So I want to push your edges.
Okay.
Man. Like, what would I be? Would I be your coach if I didn't do that? Okay. So next time you're on the podcast, you're going to work 6 months and take 6 months around the world.
That'd be dope.
Okay. We got a dream for stuff, right? Well, before we get to the dream, because I want to end on that, what's next? Like that's in your heart. People might be watching this and they're thinking, can I do that? Can I do what Garik has done? And we both intended to say this story so we can invoke other people to live their life in a more business, more life way. But if someone's watching this and they're thinking about coming to More Business, More Life or joining one of our mentorship programs, what would you recommend?
Yes. Yes.
What?
Yeah, do it. If you feel called to do this, if what is being taught and shared is in alignment with you and your soul and the direction you feel you should go, and it's speaking the words that you've been wanting to hear, step into it, even if it's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Because as you say, success is not normal. It's uncomfortable. Yeah. And getting out of our comfort zone is how we grow. So yes, if this is calling to you at all, step in.
Yeah, and just thank you for that, Garik. And I know I've been there. Like, I freaked out when I hired a coach for $100,000 for the year. Like, I didn't even know how I was going to pay that, but I knew I needed the change. And it's scary as get out, everything, right? And the success doesn't always feel normal. Statement that I always say is because when we often think that, I'm asking for this goal and I'm going to step into it, that it's just going to feel fine.
Right.
Which is ridiculous when you really think about it. If you think deeper, because the success we want often is something we've never had, so you don't know how it feels. And so then as soon as you start feeling something different, we think it's wrong, and then we step back, and that's what we call the comfort zone. Then you step into your comfort zone and you stay there because it's comfortable, and that's why they say good is the enemy of great, because when things are good,
complacency.
Yeah, you won't step into your greatness. And that's why we see people that are like rock bottom, homeless, right? Or, in the streets or living in the hood, or, you're in the inner cities and it's a tough life. They'll hop the good and go right to great because they don't know any different. Right. It's the ones where life's been pretty darn good that we can get stuck there. And then we don't go for great because it does stretch us like a rubber band. And so when you notice that you're going to what you want and it doesn't feel good, then notice it to be different. And just for everyone listening, I just want to say, think of the first time that you rode a bicycle. Think of the first time that you drove a car. Think of the first time you kissed someone. If you're a parent, think about that child being born. It's crazy, right? So all those moments, if you think about it, that's success. If that was your dream to have that, then, but it does not feel.
But it was tremendously uncomfortable.
Yep.
Yeah.
Every time.
That drive to the hospital is one of the scariest moments of your life, but it's absolutely what you want. So you keep moving forward and do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I wouldn't change it for life. It is the biggest growth moment in my life is being a parent. Yeah. And still to this day, they say we're supposed to teach our kids, but they're teaching me, brother. Like every day I think I learn more than my kids learn. I mean, because it feels so basic. They're learning life skills, and yes, I'm guiding them through those things, but the things I need to learn. Right. And then that's why
it helps you process things that you just, tremendously deep. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a fan.
Yeah, me too.
I'm a fan of
Coolest thing you can do.
And I'm totally cool with giving dad jokes,
Yeah.
like whatever, So it's good, and it's good when I can make my daughters laugh, not because of the joke, but how stupid the joke is. Then I still get the laugh, right? So it still works.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Is that right? So, okay. So before we close out the show, like what's next for Garik? Like what's the thing you're most excited about next?
I mean, business-wise, I'm gonna get back into doing YouTube. I did YouTube for a bit. I'm gonna get back into it with a better structure in place and better things in place to grow an audience, so I can help more people through creating a couple courses that I have started on, just not completed.
Nice.
But so that's gonna come out.
More evergreen money.
Yeah, exactly.
And helping more people.
Yeah, and then in life, just like there's actually a bucket list trip coming up where my wife and I have done many motorcycle trips to Utah, but we didn't get to go like hike it and explore it much because all your stuff is exposed on a motorcycle, so it feels a little uncomfortable to leave the bike for too long.
True.
So now we're going to take the van and our son and our dogs, and we're going to go do a bunch of hikes. And Richie and I are both getting new little electric motorcycles, so we're going to go ride Slick Rock and play on a motorcycle playground in Utah. It's going to be great.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
And for you, I know that's amazing.
It's a bucket list thing. Like it's the first time I went to Utah, I was like, I need to come ride off-road here and play around. And at the time, I never thought I'd be doing it with my son. So that makes it even more special and amazing.
I'm so happy for you, Garik. I mean, it fills my heart. I mean, I can't even express it with words, but I'm just filled with joy to see you here now, because I can remember looking into your eyes when you had all that stress and guilt and your face looked totally different. I mean, it's the same guy in front of me, but the relaxation, the joy, and you living your life with your family, I can see it all over your face, and the happiness. I mean, you can't even hide it. You're just like this happy dude, and all that stress and other unhappiness is gone.
Yeah.
It's so happy. So
Thank you.
Beautiful. It's my pleasure, brother. Thank you for sharing this story, not for me, but for everyone else watching, because the goal of my mission is to help as many people have the freedom they desire, like you. And
Yeah.
And this is why I do this, and to be a part of your life and have you have this life. It just, that's the best. I always tell people, they're like, how can I pay you back, Steve? Even if they paid me, some people still say this, because I do charge a lot to have coaching. And that's a whole nother thing, because then you invest in yourself at a high level, but then they still want to say, and I said, the best thing you can give me is do it. Because I'm not the pilot. I'm the guy with the wands and the lights and just helping you not hit your wing. So
Yep.
yeah, well done. You did it.
Thank you.
You were a good team player. So thank you. Well, thanks so much for tuning to this episode on More Business, More Life. I hope you got tremendous value. And if you're on our newsletter, guess what? Hit reply. Yes, we read this stuff. Hit reply and tell us what was the most valuable part of this episode with Garik Goodell from G Square Studio. And let me just say it right, G Square Studio. And he's an amazing guy, and I hope you got a lot of value. And then let us know what questions you have. Let us know what you want to see on this show. What other things would you like us to talk about? Because we do read that. So hit reply to our newsletter. If you're not on our newsletter, then all you have to do is quite simple. You just text WOW, W-O-W, to 72,000. That's 72000, 72000. Text WOW, and then it'll prompt you to join our newsletter for free. And because we're serious about this stuff, we want to help you have more business and more life. So I look forward to seeing a reply from you, because, again, I read that stuff. Until our next episode, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom. Thanks for listening to the More Business, More Life podcast. I hope you got value. And if you did, we have so many more things for you at stevenapolitan.com. You'll be able to connect with us on social media. We are active. You can ask us questions. I look forward to having you on the next show. Until then, remember, choose gratitude and create freedom.